Mm. So I was reading Anapanasati, even though you said didn't you say it's a bad translation? Um,
Every translation is a bad translation, but that doesn't
mhm,
mean that it's not useful.
mhm,
Um, Basically, what I would recommend is to begin to learn some Pali, and there's a
mhm,
very easy way to do that on the website Sutta Central. Um, Bhikkhu Subbuto, his translations are not very good. It looks like they're very hurried, that he picked up the first word and put in there. But what's
mhm,
so valuable about that one is that you can do either a side by side or a line by line with the Pali, and that it has a built-in Pali dictionary. So all you have to do is roll over the Pali word, and the lexicon definition
mhm.
will pop up.
Mm. I'd
And
be
so that
interested in doing that. Yeah.
And so with that, we can begin to see what, I mean, particular words. You can go find the words that look like that they may be suspicious in their translations, and then you can go look up the word to see what it actually means. And that's
Mhm,
very, very handy to recognize that the translators see there is, regardless of what language, there is a translator's ethos that says that it is more appropriate to get a word by word where every word is correctly translated. That's more important than
mhm,
conveying the actual meaning of what is being written.
mm.
In other words, a correct word by word translation is far more important to the translator. Why? Because if he's not translating words correctly, other translators will criticize him. And in fact, there is, let us say, a Cold War that's been lasting for more than 20 years between Bhikkhu Bodhi and Tanisaro. Because Bodhi was putting stuff in there, and Tanisaro was saying, wait a minute.
Mm. Mhm, mhm.
So being sure that you're looking at it. But anyway, going back to the Anapanasati, continue on.
So that book I found interesting because it seems like a very large portion of the book is devoted to the jhanas. The
Which
the
book are you talking about?
the one with the yellow book with the little Anapanasati. Do you know which book I'm talking about?
You're talking about Bhikkhu Buddhadasa's book?
I'm I I I thought I was, yeah.
Okay.
It's a
By the
free
way,
book.
that hand signal is on at least half of the book's on Dhamma. So,
Oh, okay. Yeah, so is that a publisher, a Dhamma publisher, or well, it's a 70s book. I think it was published in the 70s.
yes, okay. There is there is an original book. That too was not done well in translation. In fact, right now I've basically convinced Robert to go do a new translation, not of
Hmm.
just the parts that's missing out of that book, but in the whole book.
Well, there was a section on jhanas, and then there was a section on mastery of the jhanas.
Hmm
Does this
That
sound
was
familiar?
actually, yes, that is there. That is in the first part of the book.
Okay.
Basically, that first part of the book is where Bhikkhu Buddhadasa is just ripping out old writings and stuff from old places
Hmm.
just to get established, so that he can go into the better stuff. The better stuff is when he's actually talking about Anapanasati, especially the Vedana section. That's where
Mm.
it becomes really brilliant.
I haven't made it that far yet, but it's okay. But you said that you said the best part of that book is left out, or that's the one you were talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the part that's left out. That it's
Okay.
actually all of Anapanasati, but the English version that got, let us say, to the place that you have now, it was actually published and put into print But as soon as it was put into print, it was recognized that the fourth tetrad was missing.
Mm.
And because of that, there was no emphasis or ever being put on that book being published or spread or anything. But luckily enough, BIA did put it out on the internet, so it's there. Here's another book I have that is also very good, but it's not as good as that one. And that's this one called Anapanasati Bhavana.
Okay.
All right, this one is very expensive on Amazon, but it's free of charge at what's the one most.
Well,
But the one that you're reading, go to the Vedana section and the actual parts. You can skip over all of that beginning stuff about jhana and whatnot, and go to the Vedana section where it's really good. But yes, that's the whole point. Is that Buddha also, before he was enlightened, did the kind of work that he recognized was not liberating. That yes, it was peaceful and nice while you were in those states, but when you come out, you come back with all of the old kilesas. Everything is back to the way that it was. But it's when we can get the mind fit for work, and in first jhana is when we can start to see how the mind works and making those recollections in the sense of, is there jealousy here? No, there's no jealousy here. There used to be jealousy. I know what it's like, and right now I am free from jealousy. Isn't that marvelous? And you can go down through a checklist. Am I free from fear? And then the ultimate would be, am I free from suffering? Well, if I am completely satisfied in this present moment, then this present moment I'm free from suffering. This is the experience of the third noble truth, freedom from suffering. Now, this is very interesting. If students do not ever experience that third noble truth and know what it's like to be free from suffering, at least for a momentary level, to become satisfied, then they don't have a clue about what the goal is. And that's when the magic comes in, is they start giving magical definitions to words like enlightenment and whatnot, and the Buddha didn't even use that kind of language. But rather use the language of freedom, freedom from kilesa, freedom from what is the I don't know if I like the word defilements. Gosh, that sounds so Christian. So 19th century.
So do monks and nuns.
One of the ways that it also had been translated, rather than defilements, was cankers. Do you know what the word canker means? The
Like a
old
canker sore or a...
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Like a pus pocket, like a scab, like a boil or a pimple. That's what these asavas can actually be, or kilesa, another Pali word, can be referred to. Now, the word kilesa has more of the quality of a bondage like a rope. So imagine that you are a hot air balloon that is fully heated up, ready to fly, all loaded up with just the right amount of stuff so that things are not too heavy. That's just right. But the balloon cannot take off. Why it cannot take off? Because it's still tied to the ground. It's still tethered. So basically, all we have to do then, you see, we do not have to pump up the hot air balloon. We do not have to add heat to the balloon. That the human mind will naturally rise up into the sky, into its highest place. All we need to do is to cut the bonds. And when you're sitting there with recognizing that, oh, I don't have this bond and I don't have that bond, this is freedom.
So simple.
Well, here's the thing. If you have some sort of subterfuge, never mind its source, and we'll talk about sources of subterfuge later. But if there is any kind of subterfuge, then one of the things that subterfuge will do is it will try to make something that's easy to do hard to do. A clear example would be to gum up the works. So if you've got a fully functioning system, if you can throw something in there to gum up the works, that's going to prevent it from doing things properly. Well, Buddhism has been fairly well gummed up. There has been quite a lot of subterfuge that's put into it. Why? Because, in fact, people who want to make a profit of some kind, possibly a living, off of other people, then making their freedom difficult for them will mean that they will become reliant upon you. This is exactly the position of a preacher in a church, regardless of what religion or denomination. He wants people to come and he wants them to stay. The only way he can get people to come and to stay is by not giving them what they came for, but keep promising it to them. If you give them what they came for, then the likelihood is now that they have what they came for, they have the freedom to come and go as they please. And if you're, let's say, trying to build an empire on the outside, then you want to keep people close to you. However, if you're a Dhamma teacher and you're trying to, I mean, a real Dhamma teacher that's trying to spread the Dhamma, then you want the Dhamma's students to go out and spread the Dhamma rather than stay clinging to you so that you can present more Dhamma to more students and let it really spread. That's the right way. But it has to be done in two ways. One is that it has to be spread ethically. And the other one is it has to be spread more correctly. So that in the sense of spreading correctly means that it has to be shown that this is actually a doable, easy thing, and you can get the benefits from it right from the very beginning, right through your the middle of your practice, right through the very end of it, to where you now have an easy, comfortable, happy life.
Yeah.
And that you do not have to be associated with a religion to do that.
Hearing about this, coming as an atheist who had no beliefs in anything, and then sort of becoming interested in this meditation thing, and then you hear a lot of different stuff about what enlightenment is and where it leads and what it answers and what what it is. And it's interesting, but it's from an atheist point of view, it's like if from my point of view, it's like I had given up on any sort of religion. Like, they don't have the answers. It's a bunch of BS. And then Buddhism is crouched in a religion.
Unfortunately, but that's how it is.
That's how it is. And then, but for some reason, I was still interested in where does this lead? But I can see where a lot of people like me wouldn't. And that's kind of where pragmatic Dharma is good. I
Hmm.
think ultimately good.
Well,
Um,
what we're talking about here is pragmatic Dhamma.
yeah.
Just should. That's a Pali word. I mean, not a Pali word, a Thai word, which means it really is. This is for real pragmatic Dhamma. And it's probably even easier to practice and has even more benefits than whatever they're doing in pragmatic Dhamma that still has any magical aspects to it as residue.
Yeah. Yeah. But
That people
people.
really do need to have permission to feel good. All you need to do is just feel good. Stop feeling bad.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. And some of these people who claim to be enlightened or are enlightened or whatever they claim, their claim, um, they'll use the word God. Well, God is the universe, or God is like they know, but they're enticing people with this word God as this safety net. Like get if you get follow my path, you'll see that there really is a safety net, and that you're really everything. I don't even know how to explain it, but try. I
So
don't
I
know
hear
if.
what you're saying is that basically the only main change is that it's the language and the frame of reference has changed,
Mhm,
but the sales pitch is the same.
right.
And that one of the things that they will do with language is take the word God out and put the word enlightenment in, but otherwise it's kind of the same sales pitch.
Mhm. Yeah. 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 Or they'll say enlightenment is meeting God or becoming God or one with God, or all of that stuff. But I don't see why they're making these claims. Like, why are you making claims about something you can't know? That casts doubt on that casts doubt on you, because you're making a claim of having met God or whatever.
This is actually something that the Buddha was quite keen on about, and Jesus said it too. Do not spread your pearls among the swine,
Mhm.
because the swine do not appreciate the pearls and they'll trample them under their feet or chew on them. Um, Another way of looking at it is that people will sometimes have a peak experience,
Mhm.
and that peak experience happens while they were sitting. And so they think that the meditation gave me this peak experience. But in fact, those kind of peak experience can be had in the rock show of an evangelical church. That in
Mhm.
fact they want to working up the crowd so that they feel really good, and all of that is part of the sales pitch. You want them to go to church and feel really good, and then you tell them all about hell so that they want to be stay away from hell. Well, in fact, Anapanasati practice is kind of like that, except that we don't need the preacher or the church or the congregation or the rock band or any of the ceremonies, that we can generate that high state. And now from that, we can recognize to stay out of the dirt. One of
Mhm.
the ways that I've been saying it kind of recently is that everyone's an emperor, and everyone is an emperor of their own pile of dirt. Even a soak, it doesn't matter how big your pile of dirt is, or how many square miles or whatever, or whether it's just a little pile of dirt. Everybody is an emperor of their own pile of dirt. But the problem is most of us are half buried under our own pile of dirt. We're not the emperor. We're what's buried. And what we need to do is to crawl out occasionally on top of that pile of dirt and actually become the emperor of it.
Hmm.
But going back to the point, those people who might have once in a while crawled out and gotten on top of their pile, they go right back down into that pile of dirt, but then they say, look what I have done. I am enlightened. Now, one of the things that we can tell about that really well is if somebody writes in a book or on a website or puts it in press that on such and such a date, at such and such a place, I had such and such an experience, and therefore I am now that which I claim to be. Now let's put that into context. People who are in Christianity, when they have such and such peak experience, they will say, I have been in the presence of God. And then I am the anointed one, or something like that. Meditation students will have that and think that it's a rebirth. And now I can remember past lives just because they had an experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or that they'll say, now I'm an arahat because I had a particular experience.
Mm-hmm.
But in fact, the arahat is not an experience, regardless of how powerful that experience is or how purifying that experience feels like, especially right after the experience. But really, what we need to do is exactly what you're talking about. Right now, am I free from jealousy? Right now, am I free from anger? Right now, am I free from, um, uh, like jealousy, competition? Right now, am I free from anxiety? And then we can begin to reflect, it's been a long time since I've been angry.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can, and in fact, here's something that's really valuable to understand, that if you are in a relationship, a good relationship, no matter what relationship that relationship is, in the sense of a teacher, a student, good friends in the Dhamma, husband and wife, father, son, it doesn't matter what the relationship is, but what does matter is honesty.
Mm-hmm.
And when your spouse or your son or your daughter or your friend or whoever will agree that they have been around you for, say, 5 years now, and they have not ever seen you angry once. Okay, so that's kind of good feedback, but you also recognize on such and such a day, I got angry. I knew I was angry. I did not like that angry. And right then I said, I'm putting a stop to this. And since that day, I have not been angry. And it's been this number of years since that's happened. This is the way to start marking your progress, is how old, really old, is the last time that we got angry, the last time when we planned to go to the brothel, or actually did. The last time we were on a dating site.
So I can, so as far as, let's take jealousy maybe, or some weird form of jealousy. Let's take jealousy for example. Is that, so if I notice that I'm becoming jealous and I feel that feeling that used to I would get stuck in, I'd let it get sticky like a trap and then I'd wind up in it. If I notice it and then say, okay, I'm getting jealous, but you're saying that that it would erode to a point where that would never even start to arise. You see what I'm saying?
Jealousy is let us say this: jealousy is actually mentioned in the Abhidhamma,
Mm-hmm.
and that it's referenced with the issue of envy, as if there were a separation or a difference between envy and jealousy. But now we would know that the jealousy is when you've got something you don't want to share, but envy is when they've got it and you don't and you want it. But in both cases, this is kind of a negative position And the opposite of that would be pride, in the sense of, I've got it, I know you want it, and you don't have it, and I'm not going to give it to you.
Mm-hmm.
Both of these are aspects of conceit. And then the Pali word is mana, and this is one of the fetters, and that fetter, mana, is closely and almost a twin of restlessness. The word restlessness is also used. The word restlessness itself is, again, just another 19th century word that's been put into Buddhism. But we've got more modern words for it. Boredom. Now, if you think about it, boredom is actually restlessness. If I'm bored with what's happening, then I want to change. I want to go make it different. I don't like it the way that it is now. So restlessness is a kind of boredom, but it also, restlessness is that something needs to be done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That things are not good enough right now. Restlessness is not a state of satisfaction. Restlessness is a state of, I want satisfaction, but something is missing that needs to be done. Now, this restlessness that is actually a feeling that comes up, we often, when that feeling comes, the mind wants to have a solution to that. And so we start thinking about what needs to be done. We go off and invent problems, thinking that if we solve the problem that we just invented, that anxiety, restlessness will go away. It
Mm-hmm.
don't.
Mm-hmm.
The example that I often use is way back in the old days, there was an old man laying in his old rack in the old days, and he's coming up with anxiety, and so he thinks, oh, right, I should have fixed that fence today. If I don't fix that fence, the goats are going to get out and the wolves are going to get in. So he gets up out of his rack at night. He goes out and he fixes the fence, and he comes back in exhausted, lays down, and 5 minutes later he recognizes the anxiety has come back. That fixing the fence was not the solution to the anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
You begin to watch what I'm talking about here using that analogy, because you'll be out there fixing those fences instead of paying attention to that anxiety. That's the way that the world does it. We are looking for outside solutions to inside problems. But if you can see that anxiety directly as it is, you can see, oh, this anxiety that I'm having is pulling me out of my state of satisfaction. Let's just get rid of that anxiety right now and go back into a state of satisfaction. Let's take a deep breath and let that anxiety melt away. And it will after 3 or 4 breaths. Why? Because we're not giving the anxiety any energy. We're giving all of the energy into relaxing that anxiety. But the normal mind, in its normal state, when the anxiety comes up, we start spinning the mind, which keeps the anxiety juice going, trying to solve problems. We become problem solving machines, and the problem solving machine quality of the human being is that it's driven by anxiety, it's driven by restlessness. Now, this conceit that we were talking about, going back to jealousy, is very related. Why? Because now we know the object of where that anxiety is coming from. It's coming from her. She's wearing that dress I love. And because she's wearing my dress, I'm jealous of her. But you can see how that's closely related to that feeling of restlessness. And so this conceit actually means that we go around comparing ourselves to other people. And this is primarily what we will see on the internet is that when, like on Reddit, when one person makes a statement, another person will get jealous. And you'll say, well, I used to do that. And I found that it was not effective, and here they go off on their tangent. So you can see all of these feelings of envy, jealousy, and whatnot, rather than intentionally working towards friendship. That in fact, friendship is the solution to many of life's problems. If you've got enemies, you've got problems. If you've got only friends, you got no problems. So, looking at things from friendship ways, there was one sutta where Ananda mentioned to the Buddha that, having spiritual friends is half of the spiritual journey. This is the concept of Kalyametta. And the Buddha turns around to Ananda and says, oh no, Kalyametta, having friends in the Dhamma, is the entire path. When you stop competing with all of the other people who are on the spiritual path and become friends with all of them, you've got no more trouble. And that friendship actually pulls us out of that conceit, that I am, that competes with other people.
Yeah.
So when you're friends, you're looking out for your friends' welfare and benefit as much as you are for your own. But when you see them as an enemy, you do not want them to have any benefit at all. You want to keep that for yourself. Very selfish, very jealous in that regard. We're jealous of our good fortune, and we do not want it to be shared. Just like a wife does not want to share her husband with another woman.
Mm-hmm. That conceit and that competitiveness it's a tough one for me, but I sat today and my boss in particular, I'm in a bad situation where my boss is sort of competitive with me, and and so that leads to a lot of envy, because I'm envious that he's my boss and he's also my competitor, so he's over me and he's competing with me, and so I deal with that on a regular basis. But I sat today, and after I got out of, I sat, and then I saw this all so clearly, this envy, and how it's just, I just get wrapped up in it every day, and I just used it as a meditation object when I was there with him. Why does he make me feel this way? Why does why do I get this envy coming up?
Mm-hmm.
And
There's an
I
easy
just
answer
stayed
for
out
that.
of it.
There is a very easy answer to that. Why do you get into a state of envy and jealousy? Is because you've done that before. It's a familiar feeling for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and it goes right back to childhood generally. That when we feel envy and jealousy in childhood, that develops a pattern so that we continue to do that all along. Now let's look at things from the perspective of the Brahma Viharas, or metta, compassion, metta, karuna, mudita. Looking at mudita, normally what happens, because the situation that you're in is surprisingly like one of the examples. And the example is that two guys are competing for the same job, that their boss is getting a promotion and their boss's position is becoming available. And they both want the position. One gets it and the other one doesn't. The one who doesn't get that position now has a choice. One is that he can see that the guy who does have the position, the new position, is happy that he's got it, you can learn to be happy for him. You kind of steal his happiness. And that the example would be that to make sure that you're doing things well, you would actually invite him to lunch to congratulate him for winning the job that you wanted. Make friends with him. Okay? So this is the example they use. I tend to take that example because that's an example out of what you would call uh, the Buddhist religion and turn it upside down to make it noble. The noble way of looking at that is that I'm here. I do not need that job to have joy. That he's got it and he needs it. That's marvelous. That worked out very well. That he got the job and I didn't because I don't need that job. I'm happy as I am. Let me help him do his job even better. And so in that regard, we are joyful. We spread joy. So now we can put this back together and recognize this whole quality of friendship by you intentionally being friendly with this guy, wanting to help him. That may help you both. In fact, you getting over your jealousy and his getting over his competition with you. The reason he's competing with you is because he does not feel secure in his job. If he did feel secure, he would just be the boss.
And that's all really clear. Yeah. And
okay.
I just it's staying on top of that feeling, or whenever it rises up, having the sati remember
that hey, you're
be
just as good
now.
as he is, right? Exactly. You can. Your job here is to make him happy and spread joy. Because he's the one who's miserable, even though he's the boss, he still does not feel comfortable at being the boss, and so he's got to go compete with his co-workers to prove to himself that he is in fact good enough. So whenever you hear him say something, you can come up with, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Let's check that out. Start looking at him as a friend. This is also the way to do it online with Reddit, because you've got a lot of guys out there also jealous. They're not sure of themselves, and they do, how to say it. The general idea is that if I can do it, anybody can, but if I can't do it, no one can. And if I can't do it, that means that meditation is hard. So if I see someone on Reddit who is actually saying that it's easy, then there's something wrong with them, because I already know it's hard.
Yeah.
And so that sneaking of jealousy will come in. The way to handle those guys is saying, oh, no, you can do it too. You can be friends. That's what we need. And in fact, Buddhism should be Kalyametta from start to finish. And yet the Westerners who come to Buddhism, they bring all of their old baggage with them, including conceit, jealousy, competition, and all of that. And so that's what they wind up posting, is the worst part of themselves. But what you should look at is posting the very best of yourself. Happiness, joy, and also dealing with your boss exactly that same way. And so while you're sitting in meditation and reflecting upon this, you can say, hey, it's been a week now since I was jealous of my boss. Well, it's been months since I was jealous of him. Now we're the best of friends. Because there's the other side of him, the professional part of him, that knows that as a boss, he is actually benefiting by you being skillful. even in ways that he is not skillful.
Mm-hmm.
Another way of talking about it, and this is really, really old. This goes back to my training in college. That a good manager has very little to do, and the very best managers have nothing to do, because he's motivated his people to do everything that needs to be done, and therefore he has nothing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But you will find very few bosses like that. Every boss that I know of feels like that he's 100% responsible for everybody's job.
Yeah.
And so he's out there trying to do everybody's job for them, including competing with them over doing their job.
Mm-hmm. Or at least competing over credit, or
Mm-hmm.
know.
The
And
credit for it. But
yeah.
you're already here to the point of giving yourself all the credit you need. A big pile of credit. Big joy.
Talking about how the people who sit in meditation and have these experiences, and I can see now that uh, it's me sitting here waiting to be enlightened, waiting for my big experience, and the experiences that I've had, all of this magic that I'm putting on them, there must be magic because I'm just sitting here and this thing happens to me. But now that I'm going into the jhanas, now that I went into the jhanas and I got really far, and I can see it's not magic. It's not a magical experience, and that's clear. There's no, it's just a mind state.
Yes.
The more I do it, the more common it feels, the more just normal, and I feel like
And yet
every time I
satisfactory. Look for the word
satis
satisfactory. This is good
completely
stuff.
satisfactory, and I feel like I come away every time with a little bit. I hang on to a little bit of it every time, maybe, or it comes with me every time, and
You're developing the skill. Look at it like that. That is a skill that you're developing.
yeah,
And the
definitely
more you
feels that way.
practice it, the more you do it, then the more that skill is available to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what we're looking at is that can we remember, do we have the skill of sati? Do we have the skill of right effort? Do we have the skill of right attitude? Because that's the one that's really the big one. Right
Mm-hmm.
attitude is based on right view. And the right view in this case is that, oh, it would be much better if you could help your boss to do his job and be good friends with him than it would be for him to compete with you and you be envious of him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you see it from that right view, the right view is that we can do a win-win instead of a lose-lose. And because you have that new right view, you can change your attitude so that you can become a winner and help him to become a winner too. Because this
Mm-hmm.
win-lose stuff is only attitude.
Yeah. Yeah. Letting go of the ego, letting go of the
Of the
pride,
selfishness, right?
the
Pride.
selfishness. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
All of the things that keep us unhappy, dissatisfied, so that you
Mm-hmm.
become satisfied with your relationship with your boss.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, that's what we need to do in a big way is become satisfied with our relationship to our entire environment.
Mm-hmm.
And when I use the word environment here, I'm looking for a word that has both locality and vastness to it. The locality in the sense of the immediate environment that I am, but that immediate environment that we're in has no boundaries, that it keeps going out and out and out and out all the way to the end of
Microcosm.
space and right. It becomes our microcosm, becomes the macrocosm, but that we experience immediately in a microcosm way, but they were completely integrated into it. Completely integrated, that you are the Dhamma and the Dhamma is in you. Now you can use magical words like God, and it works the same way. But if we take the magic out of it, it's still the situation is that we are rooted into physical reality. We live in a body, and that body is interconnected in many ways. We breathe in and out. There's even one joke that says that every time you take a breath, at least one of those molecules of air that you took in was at one time in the lungs of Julius Caesar. And another molecule at one time or another was also in the lungs of Jesus Christ. And another molecule was in the lungs at one time of the Buddha. And every time I take a breath, I'm breathing in Buddha. Every time I breathe in, I'm breathing in Jesus. Every time I breathe in, I'm breathing in some marvelous stuff. And I'm completely satisfied with how marvelous existence is. And so this is how we begin to relate to the environment. But we're, in a way, just making friends with the environment the same way that you're making friends with the boss. Or the same way that we make friends with someone who is trash mouthing us on the internet. And so this is why the Buddha says that friendship is the entire path, because we actually do have to get out of some of the deepest stuff. If you really are friendly with someone, you're less likely to be angry at them. It's easy to get angry at someone that, let us say, it will have no repercussions. So it's easy to get angry at a stranger, but don't get angry at someone who's a stranger that's going to have big repercussions for getting angry. Like a cop. Don't, if a cop stops you, get angry at him, please. Nor jealous, nor envy. Just be polite, roll down your window, be friendly, don't be authoritarian, and also don't suck up to him.
Yeah. It's funny that so many people on stream entry and people I talk to, they're looking for some magic enlightenment moment that's going to solve all their problems, and they think that the path is about finding that one little magic moment to solve all their problems in an instant. But all the path is just dealing with your shit. It's just dealing with it, you know, the hard things. And somehow the Buddha tricked me into dealing with my own shit in a real way.
Exactly.
Yeah. Back
in the 70s, they had a joke that was around a common phrase of, you got to get your shit together. You know, have you ever heard that phrase? Well, guess what? The guy who gets his shit together, he can't go anywhere because it's too heavy to pick up.
Yeah.
And so when you get your shit together, there's no place to go and there's nothing to do. Because everything's already together and there's no place to take it. So that's a good phrase. I like that. Get our shit together. Another way is it fits correctly into the quality of samadhi, because samadhi is not concentration. We think of concentration as to throw out all the unimportant stuff and get down to the very, very good parts of it. Concentrate, like concentrated orange juice or concentrated milk or concentrated mind, to where samadhi is more gathering the factors together. Like samadhi would be in the first jhana, would be gathering the jhana factors together. What are the jhana factors? One is the removal of the hindrances. Another one is the joy that we receive from the success of removing the hindrances. The next one is the satisfaction. So piti and sukha, the sukha is the satisfaction. These are actually jhana factors for first jhana.
Mm-hmm.
And then the mind is now fit for work. So we can apply the mind and sustain the mind on keeping us in that state of satisfaction. So now we begin to guard the mind. Well, guess what? We just gathered all of the 5 jhana factors together.
Mm-hmm.
Lack of hindrances, the success and the satisfaction of the seclusion from the hindrances. The mind that is fit for work is in the sense of you can apply the mind now to what you want to apply it to and keep it there. Because we're satisfied, we don't want to start thinking about things that are going to pull us out of our state of satisfaction.
Yeah.
So this is the way that we look at the word samadhi, is a gathering together. And one of the ways that we see it is that when we see someone as other, then we're separated from them. There is a me and there is a him. But when we're looking at it from the concept of friendship, then it's always a we, a togetherness,
Mm-hmm.
not an individuality. Well, this is just foreign to especially the American mentality.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
a rugged individualist.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so mentally, we make that change of, no, I'm not a rugged individualist. The reason I'm rugged is because I'm an individualist. Let's polish some of this stuff off so that I can fit in with things better. That's a really, really interesting change between the Thai society and the Western society that's worth noting now. And that is in Thai society, the structures are fairly well set. There is the quality of who you know being more important than what you know. But the important thing is that each individual person fits into the society in the station they're in happily. So
Mm-hmm.
that daughter remains happily daughter until the time when she now becomes happily matron. The same thing is true kind of in reverse in the Western society is that Western society, we're not taught to fit in, we're taught to climb, social climb, get more money, more status, more degrees, more success, more outwardly success, more material goods. And the more ostentatious you act, then the more status you have in society. What this means is, hang on a second. We've got. Oh, it's a dog. Never mind.
It's
Lucky, okay.
it's empty though, you know.
Pardon?
It's empty. The status, the success, the ostentatious.
Yes, it is. It very much is empty. But the Thai society, the individual has to make their own mental adjustments so that they can fit into the society. To where in the West, we're expected to keep all of our own mental crap. That's not the issue. The issue is you've got to climb socially.
I've noticed that a lot of Asian cultures are way less egocentric. Yeah.
Now, sorry about that. Continue
No,
on.
it's okay. I was saying, a lot. I notice a lot of Asian cultures, and you know, are a lot less egocentric, or you know, I'm not saying on a whole, but it just seems that way. Um, uh, and most other cultures are less egocentric than the America.
Mhm.
You know, America, Britain, very much wrapped up in you as an individual and where you are, status culturally, and not of you as part of a larger thing. You
Mhm.
know.
I think that rugged individualist is stronger in America and in England. In Germany, it's more like a work ethic that you've got to work. You got to work.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Where in Thailand, let us say the central operating position is you got to fit in.
Hmm.
Um, a really clear example of that, by the way, is Westerners who come to do retreats at Wat Suan Mok. There's sometime or another, every one of them has to be nudged and says, "Hey, you're here to fix your own mind. You're not here to fix Wat Suan Mok. Wat Suan Mok is broken, particularly in a special way." It's designed to make it a little difficult for you so that you can
Yeah.
start looking at the difficulties that are in your own mind. Don't try to fix it. All right. Basically,
Hmm.
what happens is at every retreat that I know of has the following things: that the situation is set up so that the students. Now, there's all kinds of retreats, but for a meditation or a Dhamma retreat, the students are, let us say, it's recommended that they not have books, they not have cell phones, they not have internet connections, they don't have writing utensils or any of that kind of stuff that we normally use as distractions. So that when the student goes into the retreat, he's got to deal with his own mind.
Hmm.
And if he deals with it correctly by following instructions, he's going to get great benefit out of that retreat. And if he doesn't follow directions, then his benefit will come later when he starts reflecting upon I could have, should have, would have done it this way and that way rather than the way that I did.
Hmm.
But a lot of people want to complain about the way the retreat center is run. And the Thais just, they don't understand that because all of the Thai people, here's the situation that at Wat Suan Mok, the big international Dhamma hermitage there, does 3 retreats a month. 2 of them are Thai and one of them is Western, or sometimes they only do one Thai retreat and one Western. But the Western retreats have between 60 and 120 people, sometimes a few more. But the Thai retreats will have upwards to 400 people in them.
Hmm.
The Thais really do like the retreats. That's why they've got huge dormitories that they open for the Thai people that they don't open for the Westerners because they don't need the big dormitories the way that they do with the Thais. So that's an indication there. And then the funny thing is that the Thais in great numbers come and gain great benefit of doing the retreats, and the Westerners come and they spend their whole time complaining.
It's hard. Hmm.
Well, it's a
Yeah.
matter of learning how to fit in. That's exactly part of the problem that Westerners have with, let us say, ordaining and becoming a monk. Because you see, in the Thai society, it's built into the society from childhood for the young man who becomes a monk to fit in, to start acting like everyone else, to find out what the rules are, and then become dedicated to fitting in with that structure, that set of rules. And that it is, in fact, a great part of the path. That if the individual can manage his body and his feelings and his speech to conform with the structure that's expected of a what, then slowly that will have an effect upon his mind, and his mind will become purified simply because he's in the robes. Now, I see this actually happening with Westerners. It just takes them 25 years rather than 25 days.
Well, it's everything here. Everybody wants you to be special. You're not valuable unless you're special above everyone else, or you
That's the
know.
social climbing, exactly.
Hmm.
And not only
And
that, but the parents teach their children, oh, you're so special,
hmm hmm yeah, your
rather
thoughts
than
are
teaching the
special.
children to
Your
fit in.
uh-huh. Yeah.
And so that's the major change in the attitude. If you could boil it down to one thing, the Westerners are taught that they're special and that they've got to climb in the society to prove that they are special. In Asia, everybody is expected to be ordinary and to fit into society in the station that they're in and be happy there.
Yeah.
Be satisfied with the station you're in. So when the young Westerner comes to the what, he has an enormous challenge now because his whole life has been spent being special,
Hmm.
and he's now coming to fit in. And so the Westerner, naturally because he's strange and unusual, and all of the type people are interested in that kind of stuff. There's also a built-in problem like that, but a wise abbot will send that Westerner to the back of the temple. Give him a cootie way, way back there where nobody knows where he is.
Hmm.
And then the abbots and the senior monks will go visit him from time to time, but keep him in seclusion and keep him out of the way, because if he comes to the front of the temple, he'll start behaving like a Westerner again, misbehaving. And then instead of the Thai people all in love with him because we've got a Westerner as a new toy to play with, they're saying, why can't this guy behave correctly?
Yeah.
And so that's
Yeah.
one of the reasons why it's so difficult for Westerners to become monks, is because they come with the wrong attitude. They come with the attitude, I'm here to become enlightened, da 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 da, instead of I'm coming here to fit in so that I can find out how these folks actually do operate and become like them.
Yeah.
Which is actually that part of friendship. Is so long as we're out there saying that we are special and we've got to socialize, that means that we're limited in the way that we choose our friends. But if we have the mentality of learning how to fit in, that means we can be friends with everybody.
And it's been clear to me lately that that's where the envy comes from, is that need to be special among your peers, that need to be uh, that need to stand out, and it leads you into this constant state of back and forth with yourself, where you're constantly wrapped up in your envious negative thought
Mm.
cycle, and you know it's pointless. Why do you want to do that?
Okay. Well, let's do something.
Okay.
Let's get an assignment.
All
The
right.
assignment is that naturally, when you're at a workplace, you're going to be around your boss randomly and frequently. And you don't know when he's going to be there or when you need to go talk to him. But one of the things is that on a regular basis, probably at least once a day and maybe 3 or 4 times a day, you're going to be in contact with your boss.
Hmm.
Be on guard for that. Like 10 seconds ahead, boss coming. Time for some deep breathing, some anapanasati, and getting our happy machine going, so that we can, when we can greet him with joy. Greet him with
Hmm.
success. Not our success, his success.
Yeah. Yeah.
Become friends with him. Stop competing with him. Recognize that he needs you. That's why he's competing with you, is because he doesn't feel that he's adequate enough on his own as being a boss.
Mm-hmm.
And so let everything be his idea. Oh, that's a good idea. If you can become emperor of your own pile, then you can operate like this.
I'm going to try that. I'm going to try that.
Be on guard for for your own envy.
Yeah.
Make sure that it doesn't come. Make sure that you change that conceit into friendliness, because that's the real path. All of those sitting practice and sitting meditations that you've done up to this point is of absolute no value if you continue to be jealous of your boss.
Okay.
Now is the time to put the Dhamma to work.
Yeah. I got a lot of opportunities to do that, so.
Yes, you do. Absolutely. A lot of opportunities. Like I say, he's going to be there often. But as you start to change, this may be a little difficult for the first 3 or 4 days or a week or so, but as you continue making this shift in your mind, he will come notice it too. He will begin to take benefit from your change of attitude.
Yeah, I think there's some worry there, and I think part of fully dealing with that is dealing with it in the real world. And there's a little bit of worry about changing and people thinking it's weird, or,
Let them think it's weird. It's wonderfully weird. Isn't it that Eric's not an asshole today?
All right.
I'll also add one last thing, and that is Zen and the Art of Donuts.
Oh, okay.
Do you know that
I've heard
one?
you mention this. Yeah. Bring donuts.
Zen and the Art of Donuts. That means that you would take donuts and let everybody know that you brought donuts. You can walk down the aisle with the big box of donuts and say, hey, they're donuts, and I'm putting them in the coffee room or whatever. Even at the end of the day, if there's no donuts eaten and the janitor takes the donuts home, still it's all a win-win-win-win-win situation. The janitor got donuts, and everybody knows you took donuts. Even though they're not eating the donuts, they appreciate the fact that you did take donuts. So don't look at your success being about the number of donuts eaten, but rather the success comes as you're telling them, hey, I brought donuts today.
Okay.
All right. Now, how does that fit in with Zen? Well, Zen, especially Zen in the art of archery, is that it's the form of the archery. It's the doing of the archery. The arrow striking the target is not the goal. The goal is correctly shooting the arrow. Therefore, Zen is not interested in this arrow striking its target. The Zen is, in fact, working with the correct procedure, just like with you correctly now addressing yourself as a friend of the boss man doesn't mean that he's going to give you the results that you're looking for right away. Don't look for the results.
Right.
The same thing would be like on Reddit, that you can get trashed on Reddit. Well, don't look for always getting a lot of upvotes.
Yeah.
But rather be willing to say the right thing, the truth. Because the truth shall set you free, and it will set other people free, even if they don't like it when they first hear it.
Take refuge,
even though they may not eat your donuts, they know you brought them.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what I mean by Zen, and you might even try that. I mean, you might. What's a box of donuts? What, $2-3? I don't know how much they are in the West.
Depends on where you get them.
Yeah, it does.
It can be pretty expensive. But that's not a big deal.
Right, that's what I'm making. But making the gesture is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
To go out of your way of showing yourself to be friendly. That you're not there as a competitor. You're not there to get something. You're there to add. And what are
So
you
much
going
of
to
this
add?
is
Your
just,
joy, your friendliness.
it's just about being the person you know you want to be, but you're preventing yourself from being, you know?
Isn't that
That's all this
amazing?
is. Okay.
Giving
All
yourself
right.
permission to be a high quality human being.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so simple. Okay. Well, this was a
Excellent.
great talk.
All right. Well, we'll talk to you later.
Okay. Bye. See you,
I want to
Dhammarato.
hear all about your boss next time.
Okay. Okay. All right. We'll let you know. Bye bye.